Mother's Day.
Got it. That's right. It is Mother's Day. Hey, everybody. GameHounds podcast. How you doing? Nick and I are running a little bit late. We do not have any Andrew. We don't have any Andrew today. So it's just
I shot him.
Nick and me today. It is we're just finishing up the pre-show prep. Got one comment. Hey, AC Wraith. So AC Wraith, after the show, get on Discord. We need to talk. Andrew is not going to be here for 3 weeks. He is traveling, doing some summer traveling. So we are going to be.
He's wrapped up his belongings in a little sash, put it over his shoulder, and he's going to ride the rails.
Right, exactly. Put it over a stick.
Yep, exactly.
Yep, that's what he's doing.
Somewhere right now,
he's hopping boxcars as we speak.
Yeah, he's walking along a railroad track, waiting for a train to come by to hop on.
So yeah, he's pulling the hobo thing, but he is going to be out for 3 weeks. So it's just us. So we're just finishing up doing the stuff that we need. I need to set up Spreaker, so stand by for that. So what you doing for Mother's Day, Nick?
Hanging out with a family. We're gonna go to a restaurant. They actually want to go out to a restaurant instead of ordering it in.
Yeah, we can do that now.
A sign of things changing.
At least until the next wave. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait until the strain from India comes here.
Yeah. Oh man, have you been?
It's cool. Yeah,
pictures from India. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So yeah, it's bad. If you want to like really upset yourself, go look at like the the drone photographs of all of the mass. They're just burning bodies at this point. It looks like Dead Island.
Huh.
It's kind of along that same line of like an apocalypse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always
there, but the grace of a vaccine go we.
Yeah. It's always a little unsettling when you look at the real world and you're like, oh, I've seen that in the post-apocalyptic video game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
yeah, it's a little disturbing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to tickle my throat.
Doc's timeline. In wider news, like the biggest thing that happened to me this week is I finally got little stands. So I'm making my background a bit more visually interesting by putting all the little models.
I noticed that you have a bookcase now too.
Yeah, I wanted to fill it up with stuff to make the background more interesting.
Yeah, well, careful, you might get my background and it's too full. I'm thinking of getting a green screen just to hide all this shit behind me.
I don't, thankfully, it faces a wall, so there's only so much I can do.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, mine does not face a wall. All right, there's that. We are doing explicit content because that's how we roll. Mm-hmm. All right. You ready to do this?
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, happy Mother's Day. Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. You know, I'll consider you bad motherfuckers anyway, so happy Mother's Day to all of you.
Happy Motherfucker Day. Oh, would that be Father's Day?
We all thought it.
Yeah.
We all thought it. You, me, chat room, everybody listening to the show afterwards. We all thought that.
Or it has AC Ray says that's Samuel L. Jackson's birthday.
Yep. So let's hit the actual show. I am wrestling with my computer. Let's talk about this real quick.
Yeah, I was doing that earlier, just kind of waiting for things to load and just.
No, not like that.
Oh.
iOS has decided. OS X has decided on its own to start archiving your emails, your old emails from a month older. So it moves it out of your inbox into an archive, which is Not great, but okay. Unfortunately, on all of my business accounts, other than my personal account and like all the GameHounds accounts, everything else, it archived it to a file that apparently does not exist. So I have lost all the emails, all the business conversations, all the lawsuit settlements, all the everything that was in my email for the last 7 years. Yeah. And I
Like
have
it's not just updated to a file that like you can't access or something. Like it
I don't know. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, because there is an archive folder in my mail and it's got like four of the 4 of like the 10 emails that I have archives, and that's where all the archives are, and it works great. But all of the business accounts didn't have archives. And when you go to say, where are you archiving it to? It says, everything else says inbox archive. On those accounts, it just says archive, which means there's another folder that is not showing up somewhere that either it's been archiving to, or it got something jacked with it and it's been sending those emails to a black hole somewhere that can't.
that seems like a terrible design. If you don't specify explicitly an existing archive, then it just like deletes it.
I can't imagine that they would do that, but it is entirely possible.
Yeah.
So I've spent I was almost done with my taxes, and except for like the deposits, and I can't find any of the records for the deposits because I emailed them from my printer. So I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Fuck Apple. Just one more reason to fuck Apple.
I don't know. I mean, it's not like things don't disappear out of your Outlook folder. Come on. I work in Outlook too, and I hear it.
I've not had that happen in Outlook.
Yeah, but you've got a pretty simple Outlook. It's when it starts to get complicated.
I do.
Multiple accounts and things going different places. Yeah, that's when it starts to get funky. So anyway, can we start the show? Let's start the show.
Yeah. Talk about games. Ostensibly, maybe about games. I did watch the first episode of Turn.
Good. Do you like it?
Yeah.
It's badass.
If you're younger than 18 or are
Can they hear us now?
Stop this podcast now.
No.
Oh.
Okay, then I'll just keep talking. I like that the dude is kind of caught in the middle. Like he's not a super loyalist. He's just like, oh fuck, man, I just want to fly under the radar.
Mics are hot.
Yeah, so you know what I really like about it is that it's just a show where the dude he's not really a loyalist to either side. He just kind of wants to fly under the radar and live the other day.
You can't listen to the mics are hot instructions.
Oh, no, I can. I just ignore it.
You just choose not to.
Yeah.
Welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 593. We are recording this on Sunday, May 9th, 2021. I almost said 2019. This shows what I've been doing. I've been wrestling with old emails all day. So yeah, it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. Yes, and thank you for reminding me, AC Wraith. We do have a Patreon. We're doing this show live in Spreaker, but we are also have it available to you you're seeing it on iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And if you are listening there, you know that we're there. And yeah, our Patreon supports our video feed. All of this, that's supported by you. So if you would like to support us through Patreon, go to patreon.com/GameHounds. How are you? We just Nick, me today, and me, Edie Sellers. We do not have Andrew. Andrew is going to be off for the next couple of weeks. He is doing a summer thing.
Yeah, we said before the show, he's riding the rails like a hobo, doing his thing. Mm-hmm. He's following the tracks.
Yep.
Living that
So-
caboose life.
Ryan Stevenson says he just spit his drink after the one thing we'd said before. See, that's the nice thing about the thing we said before
Good.
the show that was so funny. Yeah, which I can't repeat. I mean, I can, but it just you had to be there, which is just an explanation, just a reason why to start watching us live on YouTube or Twitch or Facebook. So, how's things?
Good.
Hot enough for you down there?
Yes, I'm glad that I bought a swamp cooler a couple months ago in preparation for it to get hot because yeah, it's starting to get warmer and it's nice to have like something that blows cool air on you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the cats like it too because normally Jupiter would like go nap under the bed because that's kind of where it's coolest in the apartment. But now he's actually been hanging out on the couch in the evenings because hey, it's just cooler here instead.
Right. Yeah. I remember when we had our really bad heat wave last year where we were hitting like 90 some odd degrees. You remember that?
I moved in that month. That was the month I moved. I moved into a new place and that happened. And I was like, oh shit. That's when I knew next year I gotta get a fucking cooler.
Never do that again.
Yes.
So thank you for the link for an evaporative cooler. Thank you for the Wikipedia explaining what a swamp cooler is. Easy Wraith, you rock. I just love you. But I actually made a DIY swamp cooler.
I think you were telling me about that. Like you take ice in a
bed
bucket
jet,
and a fan.
Right. I took a bucket, right? And then I had my bed jet, which is this thing that blows cool air underneath your sheets when you sleep. Or warm air or whatever. But it blows air. So I stuck the nozzle of the bed jet into the bucket. Then I took one of my kitchen colanders and filled it with ice. And then I turned on the bed jet so it would blow air into the bucket up through the ice in the colander and make cool air. And then, of course, the ice would drip down into the bottom of the bucket.
Yeah. That's certainly do it yourself. I was just like, I don't know, I'll spend $100 and get a cooler.
Yeah, it would probably have been cheaper to get a cooler, but if you want to try and find a swamp cooler, you want to do that shit, buy air conditionings in California, you want to buy those in December. You do not want to buy them in July because you cannot find them. It's so funny how fans and everything just disappears. And it's like, have we not
always
run out of fans?
It's like you buy it 1 year and then you use it, but then by the time the next year rolls around, it's broken or something.
Right. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's like every year they sell out of fans during heat waves and air conditioners.
Or maybe it's the thing where you buy the fan for 1 year and then you put it somewhere and you forget. And so the next year, like, oh shit, where did I put that fan? I don't remember. I gotta go buy a new one.
I'll just buy another one. Yeah. Ryan Stevenson, it's like Goalie's shut up ass fan. No, I think he calls it his bum fan. It's Goalie's bum fan. So, what games do you want to talk about?
I haven't played too much this week, and the one thing I did play is a game that normally I would never play. I ended up playing a lot of Subnautica. I have that because it was one of the free games last month for PlayStation's Play at Home initiative.
Right.
And so that I don't have it, I'll download it because it's free. Why not? And then this week I was talking with a friend, and when you're talking, when you're chatting with someone, you want to play a game, but I didn't want to play Ghost Runner because that requires a lot of concentration and focus. So I just needed something kind of low impact that I could half pay attention to while talking. So I booted up Subnautica and started playing it. And the beginning of that game is exactly what I don't like, in that it's very directionless. It's basically you crash land on this water planet, this like huge colony spaceship or like a cruise ship crash lands on a water planet. and you wake up in a little sci-fi life raft. And that's all there is you kind of get out, you look around, you see nothing but ocean and a massive wreckage of your ship on the horizon. And it's neat because it's kind of the only landmark you have is just this huge wreckage. And then it's just ocean everywhere. And the voiceover of the AI kind of says like, hey, check your PDA for some survival help. But when you check it, it just says things like, make sure you're not in any danger, find food, things like that. General, like actual survival tips. Nothing about the mechanics of the game. And then, like, that's it. You just jump in the water and start swimming. I don't know, pick up a fish, pick up a piece of coral, and just kind of figure things out from there. And I'm playing on the mode where you don't have to worry about food and water, thank God. Because there is a more traditional survival mode where you have to like keep up your food intake, keep up your water intake. So you have to find a way to distill the salt water into drinkable water. You have to find a way to cook fish or just eat the fish raw. But on the mode I'm playing on, I only lose health if I get attacked. And I can just go out and swim for, weeks on end without any sort of substance. And I like that better. It's kind of a double-edged sword because what makes the game really good is the environment. And like, it is a genuinely fascinating place to explore. There's not a lot of games that have oceans like this. There's a lot of water levels, in Mario and Sonic and things like that, but not a lot of like ocean biomes. And so this just creates a really interesting place to explore. Like the whole of the game map is not particularly big. Like it certainly feels big, but over the course of me playing, I've swam from one end of the map to the other plenty of times. Horizontally, it's big, but not, Red Dead size, but it's deep, and that's where the real like gameplay loop comes in. And so it's fun to explore and kind of find these different biomes in the ocean. You're exploring a shallow reef, and then all of a sudden you come across this forest of kelp. It's like, oh, wow, this is really neat. And then you walk and you kind of see the ground leave from under you, and there's just like this mass of kind of tiny red plants along the ground. Like, oh, wow, that's really neat too. And so you kind of keep finding these new biomes in the ocean, and each one has its own threats and its own materials that you beat. And so not having to worry about hunger allows me to go out and explore these areas for much longer periods of time because I'm not forced to keep going back. And that's good. On the downside, I think if I were forced to eat, I would have to like engage with those mechanics. And so that might provide a bit of direction, because as it was now, I was just kind of swimming around, picking up stuff, and that was it. If it wasn't for the fact that I was talking with a friend while playing it, and so I kind of had this other thing to do for several hours, I probably would have quit long into the past. But I didn't, and I stuck with it, and eventually I kind of got into the loop of materials and building. I started to remember, okay, this is what titanium for, this is what copper is for. I started learning, oh, if I want X material, I got to go to Y biome, that loop of construction. And then I started getting into, okay, now that I know what to explore, I want to try to start building specific things. I want to start doing this. And one of the ways that you advance in the game is you have to build new machines. But in order to get those machines, you have to find blueprints for them. And you find blueprints by finding wreckages throughout it, because has your ship crashed, debris fell out and landed in the ocean. And so if you find like large pieces of wreckage and you explore it, you can usually scan different pieces to get blueprints. And that's both fun, but it's also like a what's it? It's it narrows a wall. I forget what the specific term is. It's like a gatekeeping thing, because you can't progress unless you have that equipment. But in order to have that equipment, you have to find the blueprints. And so what I ended up doing at a certain point is just going on to Google and saying, like, I need a modular upgrade desk. So, okay, where can I find the pieces of that? And there's a video on YouTube of a guy going, okay, you want to go here. And like, it's kind of randomly generated. The world isn't random, but the places things are kind of randomly generated. But you can generally find stuff here. And so like, okay. And so I've used that to progress into the game. And what's neat is as you get the machines to go deeper and deeper, you start kind of realizing like, oh shit. One of the things about this game is it's not necessarily a scary game, but there is something inherently terrifying about swimming along, and then just suddenly seeing the ground
fall out from underneath you.
Just turn into a cliff, and you just stare into this like goddamn Lovecraftian hole in the planet. And it's just black, and you have no idea what's under there. And you could swim along the surface, that's fine, but you know that hole is under you. And it's just really, really unsettling. And there was one time late in the game, I think a couple nights ago, when I have a submersible that's capable of going like 300 feet under. And so I kind of went out to this area and just descended. And the way the controls work is you can just kind of hold a descend or ascend button and then look around all you want. And as long as you're holding the descend button, you'll keep going down, even if you're looking up, if you're looking down, left and right. So I held that descend button, and like the screen is just black. And you know, when you play a space game, you can kind of get turned around, but you've always got the stars there to kind of orient you. Not when you're underwater. At the point when I'm 100 feet down, I'm looking straight down, and the controls are kind of like forcibly reorienting me. And I'm like, I know it only does this when I look straight down, but I honestly can't tell that I'm looking straight down. I look up, I can't tell that I'm looking up. I look to the side, I can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that moment of like, what the fuck? I'm nowhere. And then of course, like some giant thing swims in front of you, and it's like, oh Jesus, I need to get the fuck out of here. But it's really, really cool when you do find the machines that allow you to go into that depth, and all of a sudden, I'm going into that Lovecraftian hole, right? Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, before I could only swim like 100 feet. But the last time I played, I spent several hours getting the material to upgrade my little one-man submarine, and now I'm capable of diving 900 feet. And so all of a sudden, this whole new world has opened up to me, this whole new world of depth. And so I know, like, I'm going to explore that underwater hellscape, and it's going to become familiar. And inevitably, I'm going to find a deeper underwater hellscape that's going to terrify me, but I'm going to find something that lets me go down there instead. And that's a really cool loop. It's really hard to get into in the beginning, at least if you're not accustomed to these type of games like I am, because there's such a lack of direction. But I am glad that I stuck with it, because now I'm kind of really enjoying it.
Are the worlds all the same? Is it procedurally generated? So will your world be the same as my world?
Yes. I think the placement of some of the blueprints is random, but the world itself is always the same. So like when I'm, if I'm looking for a piece of material and someone says like, oh, it's in the mushroom forest. At this point, now I know, oh, that's over in this direction. So I know where that forest is, and it will always be the same. Or if I watch a YouTube video of a guy saying, go to this wreckage. From your lifeboat, if you head west, you'll find this wreckage, and there's always some good material there that you can find. I know, oh, if I just jump out and head west, I will find it, because the wreckage, those things are always the same world to world. Yeah, this dude has a genuine submarine that looks awesome. This is way more advanced than where I currently am. He's got the Cyclops submarine. I've got a little tiny submersible, and yeah. But it is fun when you know, it has those moments where when you find like an upgraded fin, or you upgrade your air tank, and all of a sudden you go from like being able to dive for 60 seconds to being able to dive for 200 seconds. It's like this whole new world opens up. All of a sudden I can go deeper, I can go farther, I can see more, and it opens up a whole new world for you to go deeper and explore, and it's really cool. And I think it helps too. One of the things the game does do to give you direction is periodically you'll get automated distress messages from other lifeboats. And usually there's no people, but you'll get a message that says emergency broadcast found from lifeboat 19. And it will send you put a little icon on your map. Kind of like if you look at the screen, you can see like a little almost Wi-Fi looking signal. And it's like, hey, there's another lifeboat here. You should go investigate it because there might be something interesting there. Maybe there's a bit of a story about this person that was in it, or maybe you'll find a blueprint or just some other good material. And sometimes the coordinates will be corrupted, and so it will kind of give you clues of, hey, if you go west from here and you look for X, the lifeboat is around there. And it uses those coordinates to kind of point you towards interesting places. And so there are some places that are literally hidden in the world that you probably would not find otherwise, but the game actually does make a point to literally point you in those directions by putting a waypoint on your map with these coordinates, these distress calls. And that's a cool way of the game, you know, pointing you and saying, hey, go to this really cool location that maybe you would not have found otherwise.
Got it.
Oh shit, this guy's getting a prawn suit. I don't have the prawn suit, but I've read about it.
This looks really cool.
I am so far from getting the prawn suit.
I'm not gonna lie, this looks really cool. I don't think I downloaded it last month, and I'm sorry I didn't.
It might. I don't know if it's still available, but it's worth checking out.
So cool. All right. So yeah.
It's neat.
That looks like a game that would definitely be an Edie game.
And apparently
I could use right now.
Well, I think there is a sequel either coming out or is out, so that might be something to keep an eye on.
Okay. So what else do you play? You said that was kind of your only game?
Yeah. Oh, actually, yes. Subnautica Below Zero apparently was released on May 14th.
Oh, cool. Below Zero. Oh, so it must be Arctic.
Wait,
Arctic
waters. Is that May? Is it? Okay, yeah, it's releasing May 14th, so it's not actually out yet. But yeah, that's coming out.
Your
really soon.
Series sounds really good, really lifelike.
Oh yeah. Well, I know you've always gotten on my case about like not having news, and part of me thought I could go through the week, you know, collecting news stories,
or
I could just hire someone to do it. And so I hired a GameHounds intern to basically collect news stories and be my assistant.
Oh, got it. All right.
Because I was trying to figure out a way to get that extra work done without doing it myself. You know, and then I realized, like any good manager, I should just delegate.
Okay.
Yeah. If I've learned anything from, you know, successful business people, it's that you don't want to do the work yourself.
That's true. You move yourself up the food chain so that you can collect bigger paychecks for doing less work.
Exactly. Yeah. I spend all my time filling out my little bookshelf with models. That's my important thing. I'm adding to the aesthetics of the show.
Blood Reaper wants to know, where's his pay? He's your tip sheet.
Interns don't get paid.
No, unpaid internship.
I'm paying you in experience.
How about this? You can get paid for what that intern is getting paid, but I can guarantee you probably don't want it.
Yeah. What? Oh, okay.
So, let's see. Let's talk Outriders very briefly. I'm still playing it. Nick, you and I played it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm playing it, and I don't know why.
So what tier are you on now?
I am up to tier 10 or 11 on my own, but I have been playing as high as tier 13 or 14 with others.
Oh wow, that's almost the max.
Yeah.
I just need to point the fan at me more. It's getting a little warm.
I'm definitely doing, kicking ass. But
you almost are you at the point where you're doing some of the expeditions that cost pod points?
I've noticed because I've only done one of my own expeditions, and fuck that. I literally tried it and I was like, no. So I've been going on to others, and there were other expeditions that I went on that I guess did because I didn't recognize them.
Yeah, because I know as you get closer to that big cyclone on the map, doing those expeditions actually cost points.
Right. And I've been getting a lot more gold, which is frustrating because in order to do well enough to not be kicked off of a squad, you kind of have to have this gold gear. And if you're not playing at these higher levels, you're not getting gold gear. So yeah, and there's been some weird stuff. Like I got a gold helmet the other day that wasn't even for my class. I know.
That might be from their make good, let's give you an item for the server issues we've had.
Maybe
because otherwise,
then why would they give me a technomancer? And I'm a trickster. Why would they give me a completely useless technomancer helmet? No. I picked that. I picked that helmet up. No, I picked that helmet up. I remember picking that helmet up.
Then yeah, that's weird. Because you're not technically supposed to be able to do that.
But it did. Which is a real kick in the teeth, because you're like, yes, I got a gold, and you get back to your camp and you open it up and you look at it and you go, it is completely useless. I can't use this. So that kind of sucked. But the other game that I kind of dabbled in last night, I've mentioned it before here, is Yes, Your Grace. I went into it a little bit more. It is very much like a console version. Well, the structure of the game is like Reigns, in that you're playing, you have to make decisions, but it's way more involved than just the average decision. You are king of a land. There is a bit of a story that is involved where when your middle daughter was born, you pledged a raider, I guess he was, to before she was even, I guess my wife was pregnant at that time. He pledged to allow the raider to marry your daughter. And now your daughter's just turned 13, and the daughter is now being pledged, is like the raider is showing up, and the queen is not happy. Nobody's happy about this. So you have to make some kind of decisions. Meanwhile, you have to run your land. You've got amount of gold, amount of supplies, your army, because you're going to have to face that guy sometime soon, and your opinion, the popular opinion, and the overall feeling of the populace. And you're constantly trying to balance those. Frequently, people will come to you asking for things like money or supplies, and you have to give it. You can't choose to give it to them to increase their popularity, and also not do it, and it will decrease. There's also foreign allies that you can make, but usually they want something for it. There is exploring by going out into the map and looking at more exploration stuff. And then at the end of each day, when you're done talking to your to, making decisions to the people that are pleading their cases for you, then you can go do other things like choosing to go out and send your generals to explore the general area, and then going and talking to people outside, in your castle. You can go to the dungeon and talk to anybody that you'd imprisoned. You can talk to your wife, you talk to your kids in the garden. You have 3 daughters, one of which you early on either send away, depending on what your decisions are, or don't. But you have 2 daughters, and they're, you're trying to manage your family and your wife and your army and your relationships with allies and your populace. And then at the end of the day, you end your turn.
If you thought Reigns was complicated with 4 things, this is 16 things.
Right, exactly. But the thing is that Reigns really didn't have a lot of story behind it. Ooh, that's a bad sign. I hope I don't lose the feed. Reigns didn't really have a lot of story behind it. It was just kind of stay as long as you can.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to make sure that I'm not losing internet right now.
Okay. And we have a special guest in the chat. While you're doing that, Goalie is in the chat and said, "What's up?"
Hey, Goalie!
He heard mention of the butt fan.
That's right, the bum fan.
Yep.
It's not quite bum fan warm enough yet, but it's close.
Getting there.
Yep. So Yes, Your Grace is more story driven than Reigns is. Reigns is just stay on the throne as long as you possibly can, and get out as far as you can without somebody, without dying. There is a story behind this. It is, so far from what I can tell, a fairly interesting story. It's definitely a game like Subnautica. You can play it without really having your mind fully engaged. It is the polar opposite of Outriders.
Yes.
So, and that's cool. That's what I needed. I needed to walk away from it because Outriders, I was just getting A, repetitive, and B, I'm so sick and tired of getting into a group and then somebody kicking me out.
Yeah, that sounds messed up.
Well, I think it's because in Outriders, the default when you sign up is your party is open. So there's a lot of people who their party is open and they don't want it to be. So it kind of sucks that way. So I frequently get kicked out for that reason. But it's really, really frustrating when you've gone almost all the way through a match, and either you get kicked out or there is a server drop, and then you've lost everything. You never especially the kickouts after you've already gone through most of the crusade with them, the adventure with them. You've already almost fought to the very end. And expedition. You almost fought the end of the expedition, and then they're like, "Yeah, you're not supposed to be here. Oh, hey, I just noticed you're here. Fuck you," and drops you. And it's like, motherfucker, if you'd have just waited, I would have picked up my shit, and then you could have kicked me out. But no, you kicked me out before I actually pick up my shit. And people are starting to get mean. If you join a group and the group fails, then they will start just kicking people out and looking for new people to come in that are stronger.
It just sweep everyone and start over.
Right. And which is another one of those things where it's at least let me pick up my stuff before you sweep everybody. But no.
Yeah.
No, they're just being dicks. Early on, the people were kind of nice, but now, no.
Memphi to go in the chat has a cool story.
He says, "I can just say before I'm off that you've been a great inspiration for me back in the day when a couple of my friends and me made a German video game podcast of our own. That's almost 10 years ago, but still, I love you, love your work, have a fun, and stay safe." Thank you. That's awesome. You know what? Are videos of those still around? I would love, or audio of those? I would love to listen to.
I mean, they're probably. Oh, yeah. They'd have to be, right? I guess no. I guess
Not
they don't
necess-
have
no,
to
not
be.
necess- They don't have
no.
to be. Yeah.
Hmm.
GameHounds for life, Kelly says.
Yeah.
He says their show must have sucked if they liked our show.
We're already scraping the bottom of the barrel.
We are. We
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, you can't get any lower than us.
You
No,
can if you drill a hole in the barrel. That's
right.
how you get lower
You
than
kind of
us.
can. I mean, we're like Subnautica. It's like all of a sudden the bottom drops off, and there we are at the bottom of the barrel.
We're at
So-
like 900 feet, and it's actually 2,000 feet. Holy! I didn't know it went this low.
Yeah.
Oh, he says they're not around anymore. That's too bad. I hope
that's a
the
shame.
audio is saved somewhere though.
Yeah.
Even
That'd
if
be
it's just
cool to
on
listen
someone's
to.
computer, like it's good to keep that stuff.
Yep. All right. So, anything else before we hit the news?
That's all I played. Yeah.
All right. So let's hit the news. This is the GameHounds news, the news, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with gamer Edie and Nick Nicola. And our first item is, let's just hit Apple versus Epic because it's like that's the big news. All freaking
that's
week.
not, to me, that's not actually the big news.
It's not to you. That's not the big news, but it was.
That's like a drop in the bucket.
Big source of news. There's a lot of news that has come out of that, and it's just been week one. And yes, it is the big news. I know personally you're very upset about the giant bomb thing.
Yes,
but that's just you.
Not just me.
It's not just you, but in the objective analysis, the Epic versus Apple trial has already paid dividends. We knew that this was going to be, spoilerific. Yeah.
So okay,
there was going to be a lot of things said that we didn't know and was revealed.
In that vein, I want to bring up one of the biggest, most damning revelations Apple had against Epic.
Mm-hmm.
On the Epic Game Store, the top 20 games list actually has 25 games. That's bullshit.
It was kind of a sick burn.
Yeah. It's like, really of all the things that like you're gonna talk about and go through, like
they didn't go through it. They just kind of mentioned it. It was a side comment of like they were talking about the top 25 games, and then the Apple attorney said, by the way, you were aware that your top 20 games has 25 games in it, right? The guy's like, it was a little sick burn.
It reveals the pettiness at the core of all of this.
It was a little needle just to throw him off. But yeah, so all right. So here's kind of the obvious, not nearly as important, but certainly noteworthy things that have come out today or out this week. There's been so many. It's hard to wrap your head around all the stuff that we didn't know that has been, and little like that 25 thing where it was just one little kind of side comment that somebody heard, like somebody didn't know what Kotaku was.
That must have been from the Apple side.
Little stuff.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, no, but it's not surprising, but still little comments. So many companies are watching. Like the whole thing started, they forgot there was a audio feed that you could call into and listen to the trial. And the court had forgotten to mute the callers. And so they had the trial started with many thousand teenagers and preteens screaming into their phones free Fortnite.
God.
Turning the whole thing into chaos. So that's how the show started.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, Memphi Go in the chat has had to take off because apparently it's midnight there. But yeah, awesome to have you on the show.
It was good.
At least very briefly.
But some of the other things that were interesting, to say the least, is first off, the thing that I thought was very interesting was where Epic is spending its money for free games, because we all know ain't nothing free. Everything costs money. So Epic has spent quite a bit of money giving developers cash so that they could give these games away as free games.
Yeah,
And
and I got
part
an
of the confidential
image.
documents that were disclosed were
Yes, that was the
all-
image.
Yep, all of the games and the developers and what Epic paid for those games to be free games.
And it's interesting.
And how many new Epic accounts were generated from it.
Yes.
And when you do that math, it's actually really fucking cheap. They're making money on a surprising amount of money on giving away free games.
And it's also surprising how much they paid for some games and how little they paid for others.
Yeah. Yeah. Like let's see. The buyout price. $125,000 for What Remains of Edith Finch, but $1.4 million for Subnautica. Let's see some of the other ones. Oxenfree, $200,000, but Slime Rancher, $500,000.
Yeah, it was like $1.5 million for Batman Arkham.
$50,000 for Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, like really just 50. I feel like, and for some reason, $0 for Metro 2033.
Metro 2023. Yep. $0. Let me move the banner so you can see it. Yeah, all the way at the bottom, $0 for Metro 2023. And they had a 4% conversion rate of new players to Epic.
Yeah. It's also interesting seeing the Epic UA cost and how there are two games that apparently they paid a lot for and didn't get a lot of new accounts, because whereas most of the things are like between $1 to $5 for the new user account acquisition costs, these ones are 11 and 12, and it was Inside and Celeste that apparently they paid
$800,000 for Inside, $750,000 to Celeste. So Inside brought them 71,000 new Epic accounts. Celeste brought them 62,000 new Epic accounts. But Fez, they paid $800,000 for Inside, $750,000 for Celeste. They paid $75,000 for Fez, which brought them 107,000 new accounts.
The UA cost, the user acquisition cost, was just way lower. And it's one of those things that makes you think, why is it that those two games, like, they didn't bring in a lot of users? What is about Inside and Celeste? Did everyone just have those on other platforms? Like, why did those games not bring in as many people?
Kingdom New Lands, they spent $100,000. They only got 45,000 new accounts out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's actually has an Epic user acquisition cost column, which actually does the math for you. And you can see that for Inside, it cost them $11.12 per user, per new user, $12 even for Celeste, but only 70 cents for Fez.
Yeah.
I think the lowest user acquisition cost was Rhyme, where they spent $45,000 and got 95,000 new Epic accounts, which comes out to 47 cents per new user. I mean, actually, the lowest was Metro 2023, where they didn't, or 2033 Redux, they didn't pay anything for.
But it's interesting, like, how little they paid for For Honor.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's because
For Honor,
they paid, it's like $8.19 for the start date. They paid like $75,000. It looked like.
It's not on this. 60. It's not on this list.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, there you go. It's For Honor. Yeah, they paid $63,000 for it.
Which for like the AAA games is really low.
Yeah, and they got 118,000 users out of it, converting out into a 53 cent per user. So yeah, it's pretty.
It's also funny to compare Inside with Limbo, which was from the same developer. And like they paid way less for Limbo, but got way more people.
Right. Came out to $3.04. 115,000 users, $3.04. Yeah, the big, I'll call it, one of the big losers on it also was, where did it say? Slime Rancher actually cost $2.21 per user. They paid $500,000 for it, and they got 226,000 new Epic accounts.
Also, related to what I was talking about earlier, the game with the highest new to Epic percentage, Subnautica.
Subnautica,
Right at the top of the list.
Right, but they paid $1.4 million for it,
Yeah.
so it actually ended up costing them $1.74.
But $1.74 is not bad. Like that's actually a pretty good price compared to all the other things.
Oh, AC Ray says Ubisoft games still go through Ubisoft Service, formerly known as Uplay. So I imagine that might be the reason for a discount.
Oh, okay. Also, I'm full on as like at this point, isn't it one of those games that's like got a lot of microtransactions and stuff in it?
Yeah.
Live service game.
Yeah, I think it does.
I'm sure they want to get people in the door for cheap.
Yeah, but very, very interesting to see all of these all of these insider.
And it's also, like you said earlier, what's interesting is you look at all those lists, and when you add up all the money, it's like
$11 million.
Yeah, 11 million. Fortnite makes that in it's made $11 million.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah. And I was talking with a friend, the guy I was talking with playing Subnautica made an interesting point. That's kind of, you could compare this to Game Pass. That Microsoft is probably paying some similar money for things on Game Pass. Same with Sony and the PSN free games. And so that kind of gives you this look behind the scenes that, these monthly free games that the services are offering doesn't actually cost them too much. And so it's no wonder that this is something that's been going on. It gets them a lot of goodwill. And $11 million over the course of what? That was like 2-3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, that's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah, it is surprising how little they're spending and how much they're getting out of it too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you look at that list, it adds up all of the new users. All the new users from their $11 million free game, 4,924,213 between 2018 and 2019. Well, I should say December 2018 to September 2019 is what this is showing.
Yeah, a year.
4 million customers. Yeah, I guess that was a year. 4 million customers, 4 million new Epic accounts, and it cost them on average $2.37.
Yeah,
and a 5% conversion on all of those. So it makes good sense. It's good money. It's not as much of a losing proposition, I think, as everyone thought it might be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the first big revelation that came up. The next one was that Walmart is working on a streaming service. Now, this was rumored in 2019, and I think everybody pretty much was like, yeah, it's just a rumor. But apparently, this was actual direct testimony, so it's true because they're under oath. There was a presentation attached to the emails. It talked about the emails. It actually had emails entered into evidence by Epic's team talking about how they had actually played Walmart's demo of their streaming service for phones using an Xbox controller. So one of the emails read, this came from who wrote this. This was Epic Games co-founder Mark Rain in an email thread in April 2029. He wrote, I played Walmart's demo on an Android phone with an Xbox controller, and the experience felt like playing a PS4 and superior to playing on Android or iOS. And he also shared photos of a game clip with the rest of the Epic executive team on that email. And it was to show how Walmart was planning to sell them in stores to let a phone attach to a controller. He went on and said they're going to sell the clip for a crazy low amount, and they were saying something like $2. So the rumors are a lot more than just rumors.
Yeah.
They actually have a playable streaming demo of this streaming service. And Epic Games was apparently only one of the publishers that Walmart had pitched. Back in 2019, that was when we first heard about it, and they haven't announced anything, still haven't.
Yeah.
But they were doing that in 2019 and pitching it around. But this is actual verifiable under oath of under threat of perjury and jail that this is real, and it is way more real than anybody ever thought it would be.
It's also interesting because 2019, I think the world was way hotter on game streaming, and with kind of the implosion of Stadia and Amazon not really doing much with Luna other than just putting it in beta, everything has really cooled on it. So I don't know what the future would hold of this. It's an interesting fun fact to know that Walmart was working on their own proprietary service. But if we've seen anything from Stadia, it's that to have that technology doesn't matter. Like,
Right.
You can have the best streaming technology, it doesn't matter. There's much more to the service than just that.
Right.
And
yeah. So, and I'm sure that Stadia's epic failure has very much made Walmart pull back and reassess if they're going to do it and how they're going to do it.
if anything, it's a good example like what not to do.
What not to do.
Yeah.
And they're probably analyzing what not to do. What are the what nots to do, and what are the should do's that they can make this launch better.
Yeah.
So streaming games on Walmart.com is entirely a Walmart app for streaming games. Entirely possible.
Yeah.
With an Xbox controller.
Who knows what will happen in the next year?
Yep.
In the chat, Forget Your Life asked about Subnautica, if it's a must-buy. I don't know if I'd say must-buy. If you like survival games, yeah, definitely pick it up. If you don't like survival games, maybe wait for a sale just in case you're not high in it.
Well, it sounds like you don't have to make it a survival game. It's more like a swimming simulator if you turn off the need
if you turn off those things, yeah. And there's even a creative mode where you that's even less restrictive than the mode I'm playing. So that's all cool. But yeah, again, it wasn't the type of thing I usually play, but it was free for me. So that's the value proposition is hard for me to talk about because it wasn't something I had to consider. Right.
So the third revelation that I have to talk about is the Unspeakable games that have
yes.
Sparked a couple of different stories from that. So this was part of the I believe it was an examination by Apple's attorneys to Twitch talking about the bringing of itch.io. Is it itch.io or itch.io? I call it itch.io.
Yeah, I call it itch.io.
Okay.
I guess you could call it itch.io, but I always say itch.io.
Itch.io. It sounds like one of the characters out of one of my animes. Itch.io.
It totally is. Itch.io is
Ichigo, not Ichio, but still.
Ichio is totally a character in Naruto.
Yeah. Ichigo is out of Inuyasha.
Okay. Ichigo?
But anyway, itch.io you can through Epic Store access itch.io games.
Which is, and like itch.io is its own storefront.
Is its own storefront, right?
Mhm.
And it was one of those questions, which it was a good line of questioning. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to lie. Is that Apple made a point? Apple's attorney was asking about this because itch.io has a lot of adult content games.
A lot of sexy games, a lot of porn games.
A lot of porn games.
Let's be honest,
and
it's a lot like Steam.
Yeah, exactly. But Apple is very, very, very against porn or adult content on their store. And their argument was that if you let Epic Game Store onto Apple, then just open it up and you can put Epic Game Store and buy it through there, then you can access adult content on your iPhone, which we do not want you to do through,
and also
that's why we have our store. That's why it is a walled garden, because otherwise you let in all the porn.
Makes a good point that it's some porn games, but also a lot of LGBTQ games, which Apple has not been friendly to, because if you have a gay couple, then that counts as sex, and we can't have that on the App Store.
Right, the App Store is very locked down on what it will do and what it won't do, but that's not where the interesting thing came out. One of the comments, one of the quotes from the attorney was saying that there are games on there whose their names are unspeakable in the court.
Yeah, which no, it's not.
No, you really can't. You couldn't. You really shouldn't. It's no.
There have been worse things said in a courtroom.
Maybe, I don't know. I would venture to guess that the attorneys know exactly what they want to say to the judge, and in that kind of, because court's a very different decorum.
Yeah.
So they kind of made a mention that these games names, the titles of these games were unspeakable. So it turned into a meme of unspeakable games, which itch.io did a couple things. One, they have started an Unspeakable Games game jam. It's going to be more than 60 developers so far have signed up. The Unspeakable Jam is open for submissions until June 12th because, in the words of its organizer, quote, "That's as long as this joke will be funny." So the conditions okay. The conditions of the game is that you have to have some degree of adult content, and that the games have to have a beginning with an end with challenges in between, because that was one of the other classifications that Apple used to describe a game in court.
Itch has also, for now at least, renamed their sensitive content tag to Unspeakable Games.
Right. Yes.
So now you don't filter by sensitive content; you filter by unspeakable games.
Unspeakable game.
Yeah.
So this game jam is going on now, and its unspeakable tag on itch.io is currently only has about 42 games in it. Most of them don't contain anything nearly as raunchy or racy or questionable
as you might expect from the context
Apple might have implied.
Yeah.
That being said, it means that those games are pretty tame compared to what is actually in the sensitive content classification.
Also, what's on itch.io is a lot more tame than what you would find on Steam, the other major distribution platform.
Right. Exactly.
But also, about the actual substance of the argument, I thought it was an interesting, difference in philosophy, where Epic was very adamant that, no, these games are not on the Epic storefront; they're on the itch.io storefront. Yes, you can access the itch.io storefront through the Epic storefront, but you're entering into a different storefront, and that means you're subjected to a different end user license agreement. It's a different storefront that doesn't have the same applications. And Apple was very much but if you can access it, that means it's on your storefront. That means you're responsible for everything there. And
Right.
it shows the difference in philosophy of Apple's like much more, micromanaging control of everything that appears, was Epic is sort of looser. But it also feels a little contradictory because as I was reading like Apple's insistence of like, oh, but you can get there. It's on your storefront, right? It's on there. It's on there, right? Right. And I thought, okay, you can't access any porn game through the Apple's iOS store, right?
Right.
But a kid using the same exact phone could just open up Safari and go to Pornhub.
True.
So like all of this instance of like, oh, the App Store is like very closed ecosystem. We're very strict about what we allow on it. And it's like, okay, but also like,
yeah, but
your entire
arguably
ugosystem, there's a
Safari,
workaround, an easy workaround.
Google is not responsible for the content of all the websites that it accesses, the Google browser.
Yeah.
But it is way more arguable that Google is responsible for what it sells on its app store and could open itself up to lawsuits and to the dissemination of adult materials to children because it is their own store.
Yeah, and I can see that like from there's definitely like what is it? A stamp of approval of like, this is our storefront that we have it. But at the same time, from the end user experience, like these actions are so similar. In both cases, I'm going to open up the iOS store and I'm in this limited storefront. I'm going to open up the Safari web browser, icons literally right next to each other.
AC Wraith makes a far better argument that there's a lot of adult content on Reddit. But Reddit is an app that iOS you can buy off of iOS.
Yeah.
Off of the Apple Store. You can download Reddit to your phone.
It's just one of those things.
Way more compelling argument.
Yeah,
because that's almost exactly the same thing.
It's just as I was reading the arguments of Apple's insistence on this, and I just thought like, when you really dig into it, it's a very strange route for them to take to try to like damage like the reputation of the Epic store, because like from the end user point of view, it feels completely irrelevant.
Right.
Of like, oh yeah, sure, the iOS store is porn free, but this icon that's literally right next to it has a whole universe of porn available to anyone.
Well, I also think that it probably has something to do with the Digital Content Act, that there is actually codified in law right now, in federal law, that companies like Google, because I believe Google or some of the browsers might have been sued in the past because they gave unfettered access to porn without, they were the conduit that underage children were using to, and other stuff. And I think that it is actually in the I believe it's the Digital Millennium Act that indemnifies browsers from the content of wherever they're directing you to.
Yeah. And so I wonder if we'll get into a point where digital storefronts might be heading in
digital
that direction.
Storefronts might need to have that. So, yeah.
Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But it's an interesting comparison of like, yes, there is a difference, but like from my point of view, that difference is incredibly slight.
Right.
Like from my user point of view, it's very slight.
So yeah, that's what I gleaned as like the things that I read about that was kind of interesting about this. And it's not going to be the last of it. This is going to go on
we've got fucking weeks of this.
Yeah, weeks of confidential emails and just things that are going to be said that are going to be taken, I don't want to say out of context, but contextualized and turned into memes. Yeah, it's going to happen.
How long do you think until someone makes a movie of this case?
Oh, that's a good question.
I feel like we have to wait for it to end first.
Definitely have
you need to have an ending.
Yeah. I It could be like, I'd say 5 years.
I think 5 years is a pretty good. Yeah.
Depending on what comes out of this. It also depends on the end. If Epic's walled garden, or if Apple's walled garden stayed walled and nothing ever changes from what we have, there's no reason to make a movie of it. If it changes everything, then, which it could,
I think you'll see a movie much faster. Yeah.
So also depends on how riveting the testimony is.
Yeah. Well, I know they made a movie about GTA and hot coffee, but it was like a TV movie.
Yeah.
I think Daniel Radcliffe was in it though.
Really?
Yeah, I think he played in some game courtroom TV movie thing.
I will have to look at that. I will have to look that up. So yeah, so what's your first item?
My first item obviously is that Giant Bomb has lost a lot of its core members. Basically the site started with like 5 on-screen hosts. One of them has passed away in the intervening years, and in the past week 3 of the remaining 4 have quit. Right. And this comes on the heels of 2 of their new hires quitting within the past 6 months. And so,
really?
Yes. And so it really feels like the site has been hollowed out in a way. And it was recently bought and sold. It used to be owned by CBS, but it was recently bought by a new company called Red Ventures. And obviously Red Ventures is getting a lot of shit because a lot of people are blaming them because it's a very easy narrative, right? After the sale is when everyone started to quit.
Right.
Based on what the people have said, and because, I've listened to these guys for years, I'm inclined to take them at their word, is they're not being forced out, like they're not under a contract. I remember Hoag's Law actually had a tweet where he speculated that one of the things a company does when it buys another company is it has a contract that says these important members have to stay on for 6 months, because they're important members. And it just so happens that almost exactly 6 months since the sell date is when these 3 guys all said to quit. But they've insisted that's not the case. They're not under any contract. They're not being forced out. And based on other statements, it's interesting to hear that through all of the talking, all of like the goodbye podcasts, it's very clear that CBS did not give a shit about Giant Bomb or GameSpot. That it was just like, yeah, I don't know, it's those video game websites we own. As long as they're not losing us money, fuck them. It's like, yeah, who knows? And so part of the sale is that Red Venture has actually said, what do you need? Like, we want to invest in you. What do you want to change about your website? Let's help you do that. Which is not something they ever got under CBS. And my personal speculation is that with that influx of resources, with the ability to now think, oh, what can we change about the website? That has prompted some sort of self-reflection, and that these 3 people decided we don't want to go on. We basically, given the chance to start the website over again, they decided we don't have it in us to launch a whole new website, essentially.
Right. Well, actually, it was kind of interesting. Jeff Gerstmann, who we're showing right now, he was one of the founders of. In fact, Giant Bomb was founded because he got booted from GameSpot.
Yeah.
Unceremoniously over, what was the name of the
Kane and Lynch?
Kane and Lynch. Yes.
Yep.
The most memorable thing about that game was the fact that Jeff Gerstmann was fired, and he started Giant Bomb. It was actually the most successful thing out of that game. But Jeff Gerstmann did say to GameSpot, quote, "I've spent a lot of time last year thinking about what's next for Giant Bomb, and most of those roads lead to a full-on rethink of what it means to be a website about video games in 2021. While I certainly would have loved to solve these challenges with my longtime friends and coworkers by my side, it just wasn't meant to be. I wish Vinny, Alex, and Brad the best. Meanwhile, we have a pretty exciting opportunity to broaden our horizons, rethink every facet of our operation, and get to a place where we're truly able to build that bomb all over again or die trying. And it is kind of interesting that Giant Bomb was one of the first game news websites that relied upon a subscription model.
Yeah.
So
Also,
they
one of the
very
first
much were that heralding of a new way of thinking
that,
once with
but
Giant
also
Bomb.
like one of the first to like really emphasize a video.
Right.
Like when it came out, GameSpot was like still very much into written reviews, and even Giant Bomb did a lot of written reviews in the beginning. But they also did a lot of video content, and at the time, that was sort of a new thing. The idea of a quick look, of having someone play a game and narrate what they're doing and explaining what they're doing, was kind of radical 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know AC Wraith in chat says they didn't want to AstroTurf with empty walkthrough pages for every game. I don't think Giant Bomb had like walkthrough pages. Do they have one? Because I know I've encountered several of those for IGN. I encountered a Subnautica IGN walkthrough page that was like, "This is a stub. Do you want to add content?" I was like, "Fuck you." I was looking for help. But I didn't know they had walkthrough. I know one of the big things about Giant Bomb was like a wiki, where they basically have like a giant video game specific Wikipedia section that's, pretty substantial and comprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, also based on the statement that he gave to GameSpot, a lot of people worried that Giant Bomb would become like one of the YouTube media channels, where like it would be like this central repository that other streamers would come to and like host from there.
Yeah, AC Ray says Giant Bomb stubs would links would flood his searches for help.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, and I had that same problem too.
But yeah, it's also it's just like a radical change. And for me personally, especially during the pandemic, I would start each morning like watching 30 minutes of some of their content. And so Jeff has said specifically that any subscription people have will be extended for the month of May, because it basically sounds like they're kind of going to shut down for the month of May as they start working on what is a video game site in 2021, as they retool that. So I don't expect they'll be putting out any new content much this month, because it sounds like that this is going to be the construction month. But yeah, it's kind of a major change. And also, like, I wonder if this is not part of a direct result of the purchase from Red Venture. You kind of got to feel bad for Red Venture, because they spent all this money buying a video game site that has a very high pedigree and level of respect that 6 months later has been completely hollowed out into something entirely different.
Completely, I don't want to say cratered, but certainly, it's just kind of...
Yeah, it's not cratered, because, it's that point with like, it's hovering. We don't know what it's going to be next.
Right.
And whenever
whose whole future is in question, because I mean, Jeff Gerstmann very much is a centerpiece of Giant Bomb, but he can't
do it all by himself.
Yeah, it's not a one-man show.
And like, there are all other people there, but at this point, I think the entire staff, or at least the entire like staff that has appeared on screen, because there's a lot more people behind the scenes, but it's like there's 4 people that have at different points been on screen personalities, and that's not a lot.
No. And I've certainly been in that position where, you have a team and one of them leaves, and it is really, really hard to fill that. And I'm nowhere at the level of them, of who
Yeah.
they're looking for. I mean, I'm just looking for a good personality and ability to talk.
And it's also frustrating or sad that the two newest hires that they had quit within the past 6 months. And like, if they were still there, I think this would feel less like a hollowing out and more like a passing of the torch.
Right. It would feel a lot less like people are leaving for a damn good reason that we don't know about just yet.
Exactly. Because the new blood is gone, and now all of a sudden most of the old blood is gone too. And it's like, well, wait, what the fuck is going on? And so that has prompted a lot of questions and a lot of speculation, and they haven't talked a lot of specifics about why they're leaving, and that just fuels more speculation.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, it reminds me of decades ago, the One-Up-Apocalypse.
Yeah,
I remember
it does feel like that, doesn't it?
The old website One-Up. I remember I used to listen to a lot of their podcasts.
I loved
and
One-Up.
One day,
I liked One-Up better than Giant Bomb. A lot better than
One-Up
Giant
was really
Bomb.
good. And then like one day there was just a news story that like, half the staff is just laid off.
We're gone.
And all of a sudden, like the 3 One-Up podcasts that I listened to were over. And I know like those people have kind of spun off in different directions and done their own things, but in a lot of cases,
Garnet Lee?
Garnet Lee was one of them. Yes.
Yep.
Like
Garnet Lee was. Did he?
I don't know what he does anymore.
I honestly, exactly. And I love Garnet Lee, but he's left. One-Up disappeared, and I'm sure he's out there, but he's never reached the same kind of traction.
Yeah,
that he had.
I know there was another guy that I really liked, like Nick something, and I know he went to work for Sony.
Oh, really?
Like he's like an Sony internal reviewer or someone like that. And I know another guy like Anthony Gallegos was another one that I followed then, who does do a gaming podcast now called Rebel FM that I listen to occasionally. But
what is Garnet Lee doing? I'll look that up.
But yeah, it's one of those situations where you find someone that you like, a podcast, a host that you like, and you listen to because you like the people. And when they leave, it's always kind of sad because sometimes they just don't appear again. They just disappear into the ether of society.
Yeah, it looks like he's got Lee is on. He's joined indie publishing house Raw Fury.
I know Raw Fury.
Yeah. So, and I guess he was working at Amazon.
Huh. So this here are like the different options, right?
Was he with Amazon with the Amazon games?
Well, you said he was.
Right. Yeah,
now
wonder what he used to be doing for Amazon.
So like these are after like you go from games journalist, there are a couple routes. You can go the Twitch streamer route. You can go the publisher PR route, or you can like do something else and disappear.
You can go work for a developer.
Yeah, sometimes you do developer.
Yeah, developer, especially as content management or publicity, all of that. Yep.
Yeah, like something that's not coding. But it's always I like the Twitch streamer where you still play games and are a public personality. A PR person where you still like talk to your friends. You're just doing it on behalf of a publisher. Or then some other smaller role where you kind of disappear from the public eye.
Or you can become an actress like Olivia Munn.
One instance, one person has done that.
Yeah, one person has done that. Good for her.
Yeah, honestly, never would have predicted that from the beginning. Never.
Well, she was I would have, because she was a model who they put on a gaming podcast, and then when she left, she became an actress.
But how many people get put in that same situation and don't actually have a genuine career come out of it?
I don't know that they have a lot of people that were models that were hired to be a game journalist. I don't know that there's been a lot of those. I mean, there were a lot of people that were part of. Who was
the lady that was in Mass Effect 3?
Oh, what was her name? Was she a model first?
I don't know.
Yeah. She was definitely a flavor of the minute.
And she got hired by IGN, and then like she was that reporter in Mass Effect 3.
Right, but I don't think she was a model. She was a reporter for IGN.
Okay.
I don't think that she came from a modeling, like a casting call background.
Jessica Chobot. Yeah.
Jessica Chobot. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think that she
wrote a game, right?
Huh?
She wrote a game.
Yeah.
She wrote a game.
Well, it's because many times when you're pulled from obscurity and into something with gaming where you have notoriety, you want to capitalize on that market. Whereas Olivia Munn didn't care about that market. She already had a thriving modeling career and continued on with it and branched into acting and became an actress. Whereas most people who are hired for their looks end up trying to use that as a springboard for something else. Nothing that Olivia Munn did on Attack of the Show, on Spike
of the
TV.
Show.
Was she Attack of the Show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing that she did on Spike TV did she use for as a springboard to go on other things. She didn't. She left that. She left that whole demographic behind and continued on. But Jessica Chobot stayed trying to drum into that, and that's great as long as you don't get old or you know what you're talking about. And she kind of didn't either. I mean, she did one and not the other.
I saw she's been working at the Nerdist for the past several years, and now has something going on with Discovery Channel.
With where?
Oh, Nerdist.
Oh, Nerdist. Yeah.
So yeah, sad for Giant Bomb. Interesting to see where people will go from there.
You got a message from Rent-A-Center that they're going to repo your furniture?
Yeah, sure. I don't rent furniture, but
You mean you didn't rent all of those
I didn't rent that
figurines back there?
No, I made the figurines, but I rented the bookcase. Yeah. That wall is actually a rented wall.
It is a rented wall. That is true.
Yeah.
All right. So next item.
In something more fun, apparently Destiny 2 players have been overcome with baby fever.
Yeah, explain this one to me. I wanted to know after
the
background. I heard something like I just didn't deep into it. I had other things to.
So Bungie unveiled their new season of content, and they did that with a trailer and an image, right? A logo image. And in that trailer for 2 frames, and in the image, you have one of the Destiny guys holding baby versions of an enemy called the Fallen. And these babies are like Baby Yoda. See, it was there for half a second. Yep.
Let me see if I can get it back. Stand by. I'm going to try and get it back. Just get the still screen.
So like Baby Yoda, it's basically like a little alien baby cradled in some wrappings, and you just kind of see these little forward glowing blue eyes. And apparently fuck the actual season, whatever they're doing with that, but all of the players have just become obsessed with these baby Fallen, to the point where, to Bungie's credit, they're actually now creating little plushies based on the baby Fallen, because you got to strike while that iron's hot.
That's absolutely right. That's as long as that joke's going to stay funny.
Yeah, exactly. And so it is kind of funny that these babies have become they are talked about more than the actual content of the new season. Honestly, I don't know what anything is with the new season. I just know that they're baby Fallen and everyone likes them.
Yeah.
Which is either a success of marketing or a failure. Depending on the way you look at it, I don't know, but they struck. Destiny has its own Baby Yoda at this point. So
yep.
Everyone's got to have a Baby Yoda.
Yeah, everybody has to have it. All right, my next item is we need it. Speaking of, there we go.
Yeah. That's the GameHounds Baby Yoda.
That's the GameHounds Baby Yoda. Is that Shepherd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. There's our baby Fallen. Hi, Shepherd. Don't poop on anything.
That's Jupiter.
That's Jupiter is the pooper. So my next item is, let's see. Oh, titles that are going to be leaving in May. The Game Pass. So it's too late for you to grab Dragon Quest Builders on console or PC. Dragon Quest Builders 2 left May 4th. May 6th, FIFA 21 and Steep left.
Oh, Steep, that's too bad.
Yeah, but coming up May 13th, so in just 4 days, you're going to lose Final Fantasy X and 10-2 HD Remaster, Just Cause 4 Reloaded, Psychonauts, Red Dead Online, and Remnant from the Ashes. On May 15th, the next day, you're going to lose Alan Wake, Battlefield Gothic Armada 2, Dungeon of the Endless, Final Fantasy IX, Hotline Miami, and Plebby Quest The Crusades.
A lot of Final Fantasies leaving.
Really bad itch in my nose. Yeah. So if you want any of those games, grab them now. They're gone.
Well, if those ones,
some of them are gone, but they're going to be gone in the next 5 days.
Yeah, if they're on Game Pass, though, you can't. If you download them and it leaves Game Pass,
you can't play them.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
I tried that with moving out, and I was like, "Can I load it up?" And it's like, "No."
Yeah, no, I did that with Untitled Goose Game. I was like, "Oh, cool! I could do some of that." And it's like, "No, you can't."
Basically, you've got to like jump on and play it in the next 4 days.
Yep, you got between 4 and 5 days to do it. So you might have to just like.
Although I will say real quick, you remember a couple months ago, I burned through like all those episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on Netflix because it was going to leave at the end of April. It didn't leave at the end of April. Even though, like when I went to the show page, it said like leaving April 29th. And maybe for a couple days it was actually gone. It's back now.
Oh.
So if you want to watch it, it's still there, but I also feel like at a certain point I was lied to. Although it did get me to watch the show, and it was kind of a bonkers, awesome show.
All right, let's see what else have I got. I only have one more other thing. Ubisoft. Ubisoft has announced that they're going to have a new installment of the Division franchise, and it's going to be called Heartland. And it's going to be out between 2021 and 2022. We don't know at this point, but somewhere in that range, 2021, 2022 season. The Division Heartland is going to be a standalone game, free to play. It is set in the same universe as Division, the Division and the Division 2. But we don't know where or what. But it's going to be out for PC, consoles, and cloud platforms. That was their term, cloud platforms. Don't know what that means. Maybe that means Stadia. I don't know.
Is it multiplayer like Division? Is it single player?
They didn't say that. They didn't say if it was multiplayer or single player. They just said that it is a standalone game that you will not have to have played Division in order to understand or play.
Okay.
It's a completely unique experience, just set in the Division world, universe.
And I did see a little story that, like, with that announcement, apparently now Ubisoft is going to append any of their in-house games with a Ubisoft original. And so the logo for Division Heartland is like the Division Heartland, a Ubisoft original.
Oh,
so in the same way, like Netflix
original
stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. There is that with this announcement also, they announced that there's going to be a new update for Division 2. There's going to be a new game mode coming. as well as ways to level up agents and build more variety of your players. They did not really go beyond that, but that update is due in 2021 as well. But one thing they did say is it won't be. It will not be survival mode.
Okay.
Or you should say they implied that it wouldn't be a survival mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess this is different than. Oh no, that's Rainbow Six that has the Parasite/Quarantine spinoff, and now they're
Yeah.
spinning off something from Division. I guess is every original Ubisoft game now going to be a spinoff of an existing Ubisoft property? Are we gonna get like a Far Cry spinoff that's something else?
Possibly. I would not be surprised if they did. It depends on how well Heartland does. If Heartland makes them a shit ton of money, because you know and I know what free to play means. Microtransactions, microtransactions, microtransactions. And if this turns money out of those microtransactions the way that Epic and Fortnite make money off the microtransactions, then yeah, then they would definitely microtransact the fuck out of every IP that they have.
Yeah. And actually, that's a kind of a good segue into this story. And it was something that I think Blood Reaper mentioned in the Discord. And it's from a site called Massively Overpowered. And I didn't see anyone else really talking about it. But it's a look at Activision Blizzard's financials for the first quarter of 2021. And what's interesting about it is that while their revenue has grown, like continuing the trend from 2020 because the pandemic and the revenue kept growing, like their overall player base for their games has shrunk by 30%. And so it's interesting to see, I guess at a certain point, 30% from 20, like I think it was since 2017.
They've lost 30%
or 2018
of their users, of their players?
Yes. And so this is the thing. I guess they no longer measure things by subscriber, something called monthly active user account. And that's important because it kind of hides where the decrease is. And so I guess in the first quarter of 2018, they had monthly active users of like 38 million. And in the first quarter of this year, it's down to 27. So like
interesting.
It's interesting that like the revenue is going up, but like the number of people actively playing the things that they put out is slowly decreasing, like on a downward trend that has been continuing pretty like consistently. Which kind of makes sense when you consider, WoW keeps its numbers going, but Overwatch has kind of stagnated. There's not a lot there. I haven't heard much out of the Hearthstone community. Like a lot of their big games have just kind of been, running. They haven't really done much to pump them with any excitement.
So they have fewer people spending more money.
Yes, it's the whales.
More gambling. When we're using gambling terms to refer to people buying loot boxes, then it's gambling.
When it's only the whales coming to you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's a shame that you can't break it out to find out where that loss is coming from, and moreover, where their income is coming. I guess if you broke it down and looked at their income of where the income is going up, you would see
so
where that's happening.
This was from the article on Massively Overpowered, because they specifically mention that. They say, we're always left to assume that the bulk of the bleed is coming from Blizzard titles other than WoW, given that WoW's revenue is up. Though we note that Activision Blizzard didn't actually say that WoW subs were even/up since last quarter, which suggests they're down. We also note that PC Gamer has reported that Overwatch claims to have increased its player base size by 10 million users in 2020, bringing it to 60 million total, but those aren't monthly actives. We have no idea how many of them still play, and they were surely buoyed during the pandemic. The important point is it's unclear which games are suffering these cumulative monthly active losses, which is exactly the obfuscation that Blizzard's switch from subs to monthly active users was meant to create.
Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, this looks like it's a really in-depth article.
Yeah, this is pretty
for
good.
Being as short as it is.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Do I have anything else? I don't think I do. You do have one more.
Yes, this is just fun, dumb news. Resident Evil 8 has been out for all of, I think, 2 days. But even before its official release date, there were already mods. And they're the kind of mods that you see in Skyrim a lot, where they've replaced some of the enemies with Thomas the Tank Engine and Barney. So now instead of shooting like werewolves, you're going to shoot, the purple dinosaur, the children's mascot. Aww.
It looks awesome.
I feel kind of bad.
It looks great. I want that. I want that mod. Oh, yeah. Whoever did that. Mwah, chef's kiss. Well done. So, yeah. All the mods are happening. By the way, I sent you a link from a YouTuber named the Spiffing Brit about Skyrim being with all the mods, and what he did. He's a fairly popular YouTuber, and he essentially handed off his computer to his assistant and said, "Put all the mods on Skyrim. Don't tell me what they are, and I will play them." And it was fucking hilarious. Just hilarious of him running through Skyrim, looking for things happening and seeing things that should not be there.
Yeah, like one of the points I like is one of the new characters you can get is basically Sonic the Hedgehog, and then every time you run forward, like this music plays.
Oh,
and it's terrible music,
like completely distorted Sonic music. Oh,
and so
it's just
to try
awful.
to get around that is he ran backwards, because if you run backwards, there's no music. But eventually, he's like, I can't do this anymore. I got to start over.
Yeah. But just crazy ass stuff that he was doing. And he ended up having to get rid of the Sonic mod. Yeah, and you couldn't stop but running incredibly large, and he just had a great time making a Sonic the Hedgehog, and then trying to play it, and ended up having to start over because it was just so impossible to play.
And he eventually teamed up with an electric My Little Pony that was apparently pretty badass.
Yeah, My Little Pony kicked ass all over the place
until his asshole son replaced it.
Right, and then he got
yeah, it was his son, right?
Right. Yeah, and giant My Little Ponies everywhere, and then a rideable My Little Pony that he could use. But he couldn't dismount. Once you got on it, you couldn't dismount it. And it was all kinds of awesome. Mostly because how it just fucking tanks and shit just broke the game all over the place. So yeah.
That's a fun channel.
Yeah, Spiffing Brit's pretty fun. But that one had me just laughing. I watched it. Sometimes I'll watch it on my break at work. I'll watch it, one of those, and it just had me rolling. So, anything else before we start the show, or before we end the show?
No, that's all I got.
All right, I can't think of anything. So, as a reminder, we do this every Sunday at 5. Well, no, sorry, at 2:00 usually. Actually, about 2:15, to be quite honest. Every Sunday, and yeah, it's if you like this, especially if you like this video part of it, please do me a couple favors. First, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribing is very, very important. You have no idea, because the more subscribers we have, the more access of things that we can do within Twitch, within YouTube, to create spaces for for you guys. It just becomes so much easier. Well, it becomes possible to do those things, and that goes not only for Twitch but also for YouTube. In addition, if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure that you like, or if you want to do a thumbs down, you can do a thumbs down too. It still works. That kind of interaction very much makes a big difference with YouTube, because we would like to have more of you guys. It's not just for us. It's more is always better when you talk about a community. And then finally, if you want to support us actually doing these videos, we have a Patreon. The Patreon is patreon.com/GameHounds. That is what funds our ability to do these video shows. Before we were a strictly audio podcast, and it was Goalie that got us to do video. And it really, really has been something. I debated it for a really long time, because I wasn't sure, like, can we do this? I don't really have the money to do this. But it was my brother was the one that said, just put it up to the community and see if they want it, and see if that will happen. And sure enough, you guys did. So we just ask for $1 a month. The more that we get in those kinds of funds, whether it's $1 or more, allows us to be able to have a luxury for the time to be able to make more content, make more gameplay videos. I would really, really like to take these shows and cut them down into smaller chunks by topic. So that way you wouldn't have to spend an hour and 46 minutes now to watch a whole show, that you could actually find what you need. But we can't really do that when it's just us, because I have a job, I got stuff to do. I can't, and it also costs money to do this stuff. It costs subscriptions for other places and other services and other apps to be able to cut this stuff up. So everything that you could do to help would be appreciated. It is patreon.com/GameHounds. We'll still be here no matter what, because we have the existing base. By the way, all of our patrons, you are fucking rock stars. Without you, this right here would not be right here. It would actually just be an audio show like we always did. And I think it's much better now with the video. So thank you for making that possible. And thank you for surprising me, because I figured nobody wants to pay for us. And sure enough, you guys did. So thanks. That's awesome. And we're all deeply appreciative of that. But also, if we want to do more, and it all comes down to just the economics of it. So every dollar you spend goes into the show, believe me. So Annie, and also don't forget the Discord. We do have a Discord. There's the Discord channel. If you want to find a quick link instead of having to type that all in by hand, you can go to, I'm going to put it into the comments of this on YouTube, but you can just go to the Facebook page, and there is a, which is the GameHounds on Facebook, and there is a button you can hit. I mean, it's like posted up on the top. There is the post about our Discord. So go ahead and join our Discord there, because Nick and I are in there on a fairly regular basis, checking things. And it's also a way to get a hold of us. And there's also a news tips channel. And if you have things that you want us to talk about, trust me, Nick minds that like it's owes him money. It truly, he goes through that thing every week looking for topics that you guys want us to cover, and also because he's lazy.
Let's see. Anything new? Since we've been doing it? No, nothing new.
Yep, and don't forget you can watch us at all three places: Twitch, YouTube, and on Facebook. All right, so let's close this out. Wait for it. Oh shoot, I just goofed it up. There we go. You've been listening to GameHounds, episode 593. We recorded this on Sunday, May 9th, 2021. I've been Edie. Sellers. With me has been Nick DiNicola. Andrew Smith will be back in 2 more weeks after this. I should say back in 3 weeks. So she's taking another 2 weeks off.
Like most of May.
Most of May. Yep. So if you ever want to watch this show, please feel free. We record this show live every Sunday at 2-ish p.m. Pacific, 5-ish p.m. Eastern. We do the audio stream on Spreaker. You can listen to us live on Spreaker, or you can actually listen to us after the fact on Spreaker. If you want to watch us doing this with video, to see us in live Technicolor, you can go to, as I said, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. On Twitch and Facebook, we are the GameHounds. On YouTube, we are GameHounds Vids. That's a VIDS as in videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube, so that way you can know when we go live every week. Don't forget about our Discord. It is the GameHounds. Sorry, it is Discord. The Discord link is on Facebook, or you can find it, by going to the audio or look for it in the YouTube comments. But also don't forget our Patreon, patreon.com/the GameHounds. Nick, have a great week. We will talk to you next week and maybe see you gaming. So, and everybody in chat room, thank you so much for joining us. You've been awesome, especially people I haven't talked to in a really long time. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye. That's one of the fastest closeouts on the show that I've done in a while. So audio is still going, and audio is out and video is still going.
Okay. I know in the chat at some point, AC Wraith asked how far I got in JoJo's, and I got to the 3rd part. So Stardust Crusaders was the last part that I saw, which is, I think, the best part. And so that's the 2 parts before that were like considered season 1, and they're okay, but it didn't really get bonkers awesome until that 3rd part.
So this week was a big week in anime for me because I just bit the bullet and got both Funimation subscription and Crunchyroll.
Really?
Yeah. So when I got the subscription at the beginning of the week, Funimation's app was awesome. Worked great. Then Funimation updated its app and it's complete crap now.
Really? Oh, that sucks.
Such a bad redesign. It's like somebody redesigned it. It looks prettier, but that's the only thing. It's like now you can no longer fast forward with the triggers. And just, like scroll forward and just, and it keeps playing. It scrolls forward and then you have to hit play again. It's a hot mess. I don't know why they thought it was necessary to do that redesign. Obviously it was somebody's kid who works for the company who said, I'm going to redesign it because I'm so smart, or, somebody essentially who just changes things just for the sake of changing things so that they could look busy. They didn't need the update. They didn't need to fix it. I don't see any added value. I see a lot of things that used to work that do not work as well, especially when it comes to searching. So yeah, they said it was upgraded for the Xbox Live experience. And it's like, no.
I wonder, I always use the Roku app. I wonder if that got updated.
Possibly. Crunchyroll's app is terrible.
Yeah, it's not that good. I haven't used it too much.
Yeah, Funimation's was really good, and then they changed it, and now it's as bad as Crunchyroll's.
But AC Wraith, I I did get to the part that I wanted in the show. Like
Oh,
Netflix
good to
only
know.
has. Yeah, he said so. You didn't even get to the part you wanted. No, Netflix only ever had the first 3 parts of JoJo's, and the part 3 was the one that convinced me the show was actually awesome.
Yeah, AC
and
Ray says, I'm assuming he says that the website's having trouble updating as well. I'm assuming that you're talking about Funimation.
Funimation.
Yeah.
I'll have to check out that app to see if they changed it on
Yeah,
Roku.
half the time you can't fully load a show page. Yep, I'm the same way. I'm having a hard time sometimes loading up a show.
I said the Crunchyroll beta site though is pretty good.
Yeah, I think that that's available on my PC, but it's not available on my on Xbox. I
Xbox.
did not see that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to watch it on my PC. I sit in front of my PC all day. I do not want to sit in front of it when I'm on my off hours. I want to get up and sit on the couch. I don't want to sit anywhere else but in front of a computer. He says, I don't know about the app, but the beta watch list user generated lists are great. Oh, it's good to know. I started something today that looks very interesting, and I can't remember the name. It was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Was it an anime show?
Yeah, I think I looked it up on. Was it Crunchyroll? I think it was Crunchyroll that I was playing it. Maybe I can't remember the name of it, and it doesn't show me. It doesn't show me what I've played.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I started watching one on Netflix that I've seen before, but I was rewatching it called Code Geass, which is interesting. It's interesting. It's kind of like Death Note in the way that it's structured, in that it's about kind of a strategic genius asshole who gets a superpower and decides to use that to destroy this like big authoritarian government. And so it's all about him kind of joining with these rebels to try to take down the big authoritarian government. But he's got like the superpower that allows, if he makes eye contact, he can like give you a command that you have to follow. But he can only do it once. And so a lot of it is like, him trying to find the right person, give the right command to, and then, oh shit, I've already given it to this person. How do I get out of this situation without using it? How do I keep my identity secret? A lot of the interesting like cat and mouse games that made Death Note really good feels at play here, except you got giant mechs as well.
Yep. So I watched Code Geass years and years ago.
So did I. Yeah, and I remember enjoying it.
And yeah, I enjoyed the story. I could not stand the animation. I cannot stand the animation on that one.
Fair.
Just, it is not my style. I find it just so distracting. So the show that I was have just started today is something called Joran, the Princess of Blood, of Snow and Blood. And it's pretty dark. Set in Japan in 1931. And that there still were shoguns in 1931, and it's about, from what I can tell, it's kind of a alternate universe where it's Japan, but it's also got people that they can meld with beasts to turn them into kind of supernatural fighters. And she is, I think, from what I can tell so far, an assassin. The animation on it is beautiful. But she is an assassin that is one of those beast melded people with a white raven. And I just watched one episode, and they're short, like 20 minutes. And it seems.
Was it on? And it was on
Crunchyroll.
Funimation? Oh, Crunchyroll. Okay.
Yeah. There it is.
And what was it called?
It is called Joran, the
Princess
Princess of Snow and Blood.
Huh.
Yeah, it was, honestly, it was just the animation that made me want to watch it. It was just seeing that. I'm like, ooh, that looks interesting. It's not a mecha. girl in low cut, big boobed girl. And not that that's a problem. There's a lot of shows that have had that I've enjoyed. But it's not like, the typical tropes. And it stood out.
Cool. There's one I've wanted to see on Funimation that I haven't gotten around to yet because I'm still trying to get through My Hero. I think it's Red Garden or Red something. But it's kind of interesting because it's about these 4 women who kind of meet after having been murdered. And they are able to somehow come back to life to try and determine who killed them. Yeah, that's it.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it.
You still need to watch Fruits Basket. You still need to watch Fruits Basket, and I would recommend watching the dub. The dub is excellent.
Yes. The main girl, I forget her name. Toru,
yeah.
You know who does her voice?
Who?
Laura Bailey.
No.
From Critical Role.
Yeah. I did not know that. Yeah, she's really good. All the voice acting on that show is top fucking notch. And it's kind of funny because I was watching the season. I was watching Log Horizon. So season 1 is on Funimation, dubbed, and very good. Season 2 is on Crunchyroll, undubbed. Season 3 is on Funimation, and it's coming out now, dubbed, but it's not the same voice actors.
Oh, geez, that's a confusing process.
And it's not so bad because, of course, I didn't go from listening to season 1 to season 3, then it would seem strange. But the fact that I was introduced to these characters with these voices in Japanese, in original Japanese, with the subtitled, then picking them up in English dubbed voice acting, they've done such a poor job. Holy crap. It's like they didn't care. It's like they brought in the B team. Like they brought in the A team for Fruits Basket. They brought in the B team for Log Horizon, and it is a shame because that is such a good show. Such a good anime. And it went from being done really, really well to not done to being done poorly.
So I guess the question is it better to not be done or to be done poorly? Do you want dub or a bad dub?
I'm thinking of actually going back and watching it. Problem is that it's a lot harder to watch, obviously. And you have to be much more actively watching when you are watching a sub versus the dub.
Yeah.
And you pretty much have to not get up and walk away at all.
Which also, I learned that watching the first episode of Turn. That's not a show you can half watch. I had to rewind a couple times and be like, okay, wait, who the fuck is he talking to?
Yeah. So you watched the first episode?
I did see the first episode, yes.
Okay, so now tell me what you think about Turn so I can actually pay attention to it.
I did
just be annoyed.
I did like that, he doesn't start off as this hardcore loyalist for the America. He's just like, I'm living in this occupied town and I just kind of want to get by. But then
just want to grow cabbage. Just want to survive this war.
Yeah, this other guy that he knows kind of tricks him into getting involved in the espionage. And, he's kind of good because he does live in an occupied town, so he doesn't rat out his friend. He gives fake names, but then the episode ends with him kind of being caught given the fake names that I'm not sure what the guy's role is. He's the governor of the town that's occupied by the British. He says,
he's the commander. He's the British commander of that town.
Is he the British commander? Because I thought he was on the America side because he seemed kind of, when there was that fight, the British commander was like, fuck them. And that one guy was like, it wasn't quite their fault. Maybe don't kill them.
Yeah, no, that there is the one guy that is with the horse in the church, and Bocephus, that is he is the commander, and his Simcoe is his lieutenant.
Okay.
The one who's like, fuck him.
Yeah. And so yeah, I'm interested to see what goes, because yeah, and like the woman that he's friends with, like he was saying, I just want to get by, and the woman was like, well, aren't you going to help him? It's like, oh shit, she wants to help the rebels, but I don't. God damn it. And then he gets her involved too, and it's a nice. It's more interesting when it's a dude caught between both sides who doesn't really want to help anyone. He just wants to survive, but is constantly pulled at
being
both ends.
dragged into everything.
Yeah, and the fact that, like, I thought it was interesting. There was a brief scene where George Washington did show up and specifically said, no, I don't want spies. Like, I don't want to pay for that. And like the commander he was talking to is like, no, fuck it, we need a spy. I'm gonna go like force this guy to become a spy because I know it's
Force
what we
my
need.
childhood friend in Setauket, Long Island, to be my to be my spy.
And so it's good in that, like, I like that it's showing these both sides pulling at him, being like, yeah, everyone is gonna fuck you over, and so that just makes his position way more dangerous.
It's a good show. It's a really good show. It is
Yeah,
so awesome.
I want to. Yeah.
Everybody should watch Turn. Everyone should watch Turn before the 4th of July. You should, because it's kind of pointless. It's kind of like celebrating Cinco de Mayo by thinking it's just a drinking day. It's not. It's ours, and not a lot of people
maybe I'll
recognize what we had to do to have 4th of July, how hard that was, and how improbable it was.
Maybe I'll set aside some time on the 4th of July to binge a bunch of episodes.
That would be great to binge those episodes, but it's 4 seasons. It's going to be a long time. Yeah.
I'm not gonna finish it by then, but wherever I'm at, I'll take that night to binge a couple episodes.
Yeah, be good.
By that time, I'll have finished that model, and I'll be starting on another one.
Good. All right. So let's close this out, because you said you wanted to be gone by 5 o'clock, and it's not even 4:30 yet, and so I don't.
Yeah, it's 4:30. So yeah, I've got some good time to sort of get ready and then head out.
Yep, I gotta go do taxes.
Feed the little guy on my lap.
Yep, there it is. Turn Washington Spies. Gosh, AC Wraith was talking the whole time, and I had it off there. There's unneeded fan service on the mechs were cool. Oh, Code Geass. Yeah,
that was for Code Geass. He mentioned something called Vivi Fluoride's Eyes song, which I looked up, and it's like about an android singer who then has to stop a war from humans and AI that a teddy bear from the future warns her about, which is such an anime premise, but also sounds interesting. And he says it's really good.
Okay. Cool. All right. We're off. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great week. Get yourself vaccinated. Don't listen to anybody. If somebody's telling you don't get vaccinated because you don't need to, or it's a fake, or it's experimental, bullshit. It's not experimental. It's not a fake.
Next week I'll have my last one.
Right. And then 2 weeks after that, you will be fully fucking vaccinated, my friend. Mm-hmm. So everyone, have a great week. Take care. Be safe. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.